Okay, question 13 starts with a simultaneous equations question. Now, unfortunately, the x's and the y's, neither of them have a common number in front, so you do need to multiply one of them, or both of them actually. So I'm going to multiply the top one by 2 and the bottom one by 3. Alright, and that's going to give me 6x plus 4y minus 16 equals 0, and the second equation will become 6x minus 9y minus 3 equals 0. Okay, now I have a 6x in both of them, so I'm going to subtract the equations. So subtracting those equations, 6x minus 6x is 0. 4y minus negative 9y becomes 4 plus 9y. So that's 13y. Negative 16 minus negative 3 becomes negative 16 plus 3, which is negative 13, and that equals 0. So adding 13 to both sides, we get 13y equals 13, so y equals 1. Okay, remember to always finish it off by finding the other value, so we need to find the x value. It doesn't matter which one you sub it into. I'm going to sub it into my very first equation. So I have 3x plus 2 times y, so that's 2 times 1, which is 2, minus 8 equals 0. So that's 3x, 2 minus 8 is negative 6, equals 0. Add 6, so 3x equals 6, divide by 3, x equals 2, and they're your answers. So y equals 1 and x equals 2. Alright, moving on to part B. Alright, so here's our parabola question. We have y equals x squared plus x minus 12. Find its intercepts on the x and y axis. So part 1, x-intercept. We let y equal 0. So 0 equals x squared plus x minus 12. Okay, to solve this we need to factorize. So two numbers that multiply to give negative 12 and add to give 1. So multiply to give negative 12, well, we've got 3 and 4 multiply to give 12, so positive 4 and negative 3 will work. So x plus 4 and x minus 3. So therefore my x-intercepts are negative 4 and positive 3. Alright, my y-intercept is a little bit easier. Let x equal 0, so we get y equals 0 plus 0 minus 12. So my x-intercepts are here, my y-intercept is here. Part 2, find the coordinates of its vertex. So for its vertex, we need to find its x value first. Another name for the x value of the vertex is the axis of symmetry. You can use the formula. I find it's much easier to find halfway between the x-intercepts. So halfway between the x-intercepts would be negative 4 plus 3, so you add them and divide by 2. So our x value will be negative half. That's our x value for the vertex. Our y value we get by substituting that in. So negative half squared plus negative half, so minus half, and minus 12. Right, use your calculator if you think you're going to make a mistake with that, but make sure you put brackets in. So negative half squared gives you a quarter, minus half minus 12, and when you do that, you should get minus 12 and a quarter. Okay, so your vertex is negative half and negative 12 and a quarter. Alright, so the final part, sketch the curve showing all those features. So let's just make a bit more room. Alright, So we draw up our number plane. Oops. Alright, now remember that it doesn't have to be to scale. So what you want to do is think about where the position will be. It's going through -4 and 3. So it's going to be over to this side a little bit more than over here. Alright, so I would just start with that and try and draw a nice smooth parabola going through those points. Alright, so if it doesn't quite go through where you wanted it to, just rub it out and move it to there. So that's 3, that's -4. My y-intercept was -12, and my vertex was -12, -12 and a quarter. Okay, and there's my graph. Alright, on to part C. Two of the sides of the triangle are √3 + 1 and 10 - 2 √3. It is known that its perimeter is 2 √3 + 9. Find the length of the third side. So really, you just had to think about, how do I find the perimeter of a triangle? I start with, how do I find the third missing side? So if I know that the perimeter is 2 √3 + 9, then I need to subtract the other two sides. So I need to subtract √3 + 1, and I need to subtract 10 - 2 √3. Now, if you don't put brackets in at that step, you're going to make a mistake. You need to subtract all of √3 + 1 and all of 10 - 2 √3. Alright, so at that stage, I would then just write it out with the correct signs. So that will become -√3 - 1, -10 + 2 √3. And then look for your like terms. So we've got 2 √3 minus √3, so that will become 1 √3, plus another 2 √3, so that's 3 √3. Then we've got +9 minus 1 is 8, minus another 10 is -2. And that's my answer. So 3 √3 minus 2. Okay, and moving on to part D, a financial question. So we have an investment of $80,000 for 2 years and 2 options. So we need to find which is the better investment. So let's look at option A. So remembering, first of all, that our compound interest formula is principal times 1 plus the rate over 100 times by the number of compounding periods. Now, if it's compounding monthly, like it is in part A, then we need to change it from 2 years into how many months. So 2 years would become 24 months. Actually, I'll write that down here. So N is 24 months. And interest rate, so our rate is 4.8 per annum, which means per year. So if I'm doing that monthly, then 4.8 needs to be divided by 12. So 4.8 divided by 12 is 0.4. So that's my rate for A. I do the same thing for B. This time it's compounding 6 monthly. So how many lots of 6 months are in 2 years? So you're splitting each year into 2. So therefore N will be 4 lots of 6 months. Our rate is 5.2% per annum, so per year. So for half a year, or for 6 months, it will be 2.6%. Okay, then use your formula. So A is equal to 80,000 times by 1 plus 0.4 over 100 to the power of 24. That gives me $88,043.86. For B, I'll start with 80,000, timesing it by 1 plus 2.6 over 100, but only to the power of 4. And so for B, we get 88,650 and 14 cents. So which is the better investment? Clearly option B is a better investment because you end up with a larger amount. You must write a conclusion, alright, especially if it's something like 4 marks. So therefore, B is the better investment. Okay? Alright, and that's the end of 13.